Welcome to Under the Rug at Work, where I shine light on problems that are normally swept under the rug. Today, I'm chatting with Tina Winchester about how our personal choices can impact our mental health when it comes to the food we eat. Tina is the Mental Health Director and co-founder of the Career Development Centre and Mentally Well Workplaces. Welcome back, Tina. Thanks so much for coming on board again.
Thanks, Nicole. It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me back again.
So mental health and well-being, as we know, as you know, more than anyone, is a focus for many organizations these days, and as it should be. But often we don't realize the impact that our food can have on our psychological well-being. What is the link between food and our mood?
Yeah, okay. So health is health regardless, whether it's mental health or physical health, and it all interacts with each other and affects each other. It's not a checkup from the neck up. Everything is interlinked. And in fact, our gut and our brain are connected physically through millions of nerves, and the relationship serves as a really important function in terms of managing our emotions and dealing with stress. If our gut health is poor, it will affect our mental health. If our mental health is poor, it will affect our gut health. In fact, the gut is often referred to as the second brain.
Yes, I have heard that. I notice myself when I don't eat well, I don't feel well.
Yes, and also the other way around. If I don't feel well, I don't eat well.
Yes. And you reach for the chips, you reach for the chocolate. Try and make it dark because that's supposed to be good for you, but it's the amount, right?
Yeah, and the balance. As well. There's been a lot of research into this, and most recently the one that's come to my attention is one at Deakin University called Smile, which looks at the link between food and mood. And all of the research tells us that there are diet types that are best for us. Now, when we talk about diets, people think calorie restriction. None of that. We don't want to be restricting calories. We're not looking at modifying diets to lose weight. We're looking at modifying diets to remain well. And all of the research comes back to following the Mediterranean style diet, which promotes really exceptionally good gut health. And there are things that we may not know when it comes to food and mood. We like to promote and ensure people are aware of through mentally well workplaces. So things like eating high amounts of sugar can lead to a spike in anxiety. So if we're experiencing stressful, anxiety-provoking challenges in our lives, and we're reaching for processed foods which are really high in sugar, or just sugary foods anyway, it does spike our anxiety, and often people don't make those kinds of connections.
And you've just triggered my memory. One of my favorite books, and one of the books that I read that really kind of changed the way I ate, but also helped me understand food. And they all follow those similar lines, which is eat well, exercise often, and reduce your stress.
Yeah, and access to daylight.
Yeah,
will fall into that too. So adequate access to daylight as well. But those diets, those blue that you referred to, and the Mediterranean diets are really rich in particular nutrients and supplements and things like omega-3s, oily fishes and those kinds of things that we know are actually very good for us. But we don't tend to eat as much of in Australia, which is a shame because it's so readily available, really.
Yes, it is.
It is.
I know if I eat a punnet of strawberries, I'm going to feel much better and fresher than if I go for a bag of chips. If someone doesn't have a great mood, what foods would you recommend to help improve it?
Yeah. So the first thing is if we've noticed that our mood hasn't been great, if it's been low and it's impacting on things that are going on around us and things that we need to do, so our work and studying and relationships and stuff, and it's been going on for some time, then as well as looking at the foods that we eat to improve our mood or give us a good chance, then alongside that, go and have a chat with a GP. Because there's never, we can't simply change our diet to treat anything that might be more clinical. But if we've noticed we've fallen into a slump, which is what we often do with caring for ourselves, we're 100 mile an hour, really, really busy, constantly on the go. And the main things that fall off the wagon are prioritizing our sleep. That's not good for us. Increasing our movement, so our exercise. We don't go to the gym, we don't go for walks, those kinds of things. And we grab food to fill us up. We think, oh, I'll sort that out next week, or I'll get back on it, and then that affects us even more. So very easy to get into that slump. So if you do notice that you've done that, then there are a number of things that the research and studies are showing us. So things like increasing your intake of fermented foods. Live yogurts, hard cheeses such as Parmesan, those kinds of things. Anything that is going to increase your gut microbes. They call it psychobiotic health. Psychobiotic health. So fermented foods, very, very good for improving our gut health. And then when it comes to things like proteins, and this is the information, that I've got from all sorts of different places, but more recently it's from the SMILE trial at Deakin University. Protein, so, lean white meats, which we know are very good for us, but the fishes that are high in the omegas, really, really important that we get as many of them into us through the week as we can. And legumes, things like chickpeas, lentils, and they don't have to be boring. You can air fry chickpeas. You can air fry, and you put something like turmeric on it. So if you increase your spices as well, that's what the research is showing us. That's very good for our gut health. So things like turmeric, really good. You can air fry them, really good in terms of reducing cortisols, those kinds of things. Anything that's colourful, but I don't think we should be telling ourselves, which we're not, but I don't think we should be telling ourselves that we have to eat clean constantly. That if I do enjoy foods that might be processed, or a red meat, or fast foods or whatever, all is lost. It isn't. It's about all things in moderation. Introducing really good nutrition into your diet every day is the first step, I think, in order to, and you should notice, if you stick to it, you should notice things like an improved energy levels, and sleep should follow, improved sleep too, if that's all been linked into an inability to sleep well.
Definitely. And I've had quite a significant diet change, probably a good 6 or 7 years ago now. I had gut issues, like serious gut issues, for about 8 years, and doctors didn't know what was going on. All they wanted to do was surgeries and cut things out and do all sorts of things. And I went, there has to be something else. And obviously I wasn't sleeping well. It was a really stressful work time in my life as well. And I wouldn't eat lunch at all. I would go to work, I'd be at work for 12 hours a day, and I was stressed, so I wasn't hungry. And I wasn't eating properly around that either, because I just didn't have the time or the mental capacity to think about, food. What did help me was my husband. He would cook great meals for me, and I started to do things like take a smoothie on the train with me, or have a smoothie for breakfast and have all of the good fruits and vegetables and kale and things like that. But yeah, I went, there has to be something else other than surgery that I can do. And no one had ever spoken to me about diet. So I did an elimination diet, and found that meats and animal products weren't good for me. And I took them out, and 2 days later, I was completely different. My brain fog lifted. I was sleeping through the night. There was so many positive changes that my body finally said, this is it. This is yours. So I recommend to people, everyone's different. So you need to find out what's good for you. And I love, the Mediterranean diet, and having a look at the blue zones and picking what works for you, but also picking what works with your lifestyle. I find now that I'll take a banana and an apple and a punnet of fruit with me wherever I go, just in case I'm stuck. I also
That's good.
Yeah, I also have allergies, so I'm allergic to peppers and spices, which is not fun. But I always now take food with me, which means that I'm prepared and I'm also not stuck somewhere where I'm not going to eat. But I find that that's a big thing for people when they get so busy at work that they just forget to eat. Is there any tips that you can share for people who, yeah, maybe get too busy with work and need to just making sure that, yeah, we're doing the right thing? What are the tips for busy workers that you can share?
So first of all, skipping meals is not good for our mental health. It isn't. If the only reason we need to ensure that we are eating enough through the day, if the only reason we need is the knowledge that low blood sugars raises cortisol, which makes us feel anxious, it's the stress response, that's enough. That's enough. And then if you think about the fact that when our blood sugars are low, we get the trembles, we get sweaty, our heart rate increases, then it feels like anxiety as well. So we're going to get double whammy. And I'm not a dietitian. I'm just, the mental health side is my side, but my understanding is that breakfast is the meal that we can get away with skipping. If you feel that you need to skip a meal for whatever reason. But when it comes to things like, how do I make sure that I've got something, we just have to be accountable for it. We need to be prepared. We need to prepare. We need to know that if we're telling ourselves, I'll grab something when I'm at work, either one of two things is going to happen. You'll either not grab something and you'll be hangry and irritable and you won't be able to think properly and your stress levels are going to go through the roof, or the thing that you'll grab will be something that's really high in carbohydrates, which is going to zap your energy for the afternoon. You're going to feel terrible, and then you're also going to consume heaps more calories in the evening when you get home. You're just going to scram them all down. So it's about preparation, I think. And I'll put my hand up and say, I'm not the best person at living by this myself. Especially when I'm out in other people's workplaces or if I'm on site somewhere, that's the hardest thing, especially if it's somewhere remote and I've got no food. I think, oh, I'm okay. And you're not okay. It's really not good for us at all. But it is about that preparation. I like to think that whatever we would have prepared as a lunch for our children, if for those people that have children, and you're thinking, what can I make? You would have given your children a good, nutritious lunchbox to pack them off to school. Think about what you packed in their lunchbox and do the same for yourself at the very least, so that you're not going without or that you're not grabbing something. It isn't good for us not to eat through the day at all.
Yeah, it's not. And I, can attest to being hangry.
Yeah, we're not at our best. And then we just shove a load of food down in the evening because we're so hungry, and then we feel rotten.
We do, yeah. When I worked in the city, I used to have a go-to and it was a healthy go-to, and I now actually make them at home. So it's called a Vietnamese noodle salad bowl. Amazing, full of salad, and there's a bit of tofu and some rice noodles, like really great. The sauce probably isn't the best, but gosh, it makes it.
Yeah,
So if you
lovely.
can find a good go-to, I highly recommend that as well. But yeah, I always take a snack bag with me.
Yeah.
I just have to now because I'm not sure of where I can eat just due to my allergies. So I'd recommend that as well. Always, taking a banana and an apple is super easy. And I think one of the other things that really helped clear my mind and my skin and make me feel better too is switching the majority of what I drink to water.
Oh yeah, and tea. The Deakin study, the SMILE trial showed that drinking at least 3 cups of tea a day, and I've got the information about why. So tea is rich in plant chemicals, which is linked to lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol. So drinking tea, and as a Brit,
yes,
I can attest to the fact that tea solves everything. It solves everything. But English breakfast tea or peppermint teas, green teas, We should be drinking at least 3 teas a day, according to the Deakin University trial there.
Yes. I love my green tea. I'm a pot or two of green tea in the morning when I'm at home. When I'm out, it's a bit
Really
too much.
good for us. Yeah, no, really good for us.
Yeah. And I might link to those studies. So if people want to learn a bit more, then they can look into it, because if it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves. So I really appreciate you coming and having a chat about this, because it's often we don't think about the impact that we can have on our own mood. And yeah, understanding that it can look like anxiety, or we get agitated and frustrated because we're hangry, not because of, the work situations, is really great to know and understand, and a really simple fix.
Yeah, and often we know these things. We know that diet is good, a good diet is good for us. We know that exercise is good for us, but often we don't have the information about why. And when we know the why, it can kind of give us that, oh, actually, I think I might try a little harder when it comes to improving my diet. So it gives me the best chance.
Yes. Yeah, once we know better, we do better. So I appreciate this conversation, because I know that it really helped me when I didn't have a great mood and was stressed at work. So thank you so much again for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I just want to share with people, if they want to learn more about mentally well workplaces, to jump on your website or contact you directly. So visit mentallywellworkplaces.com.au.
Thanks, Nicole. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Tina.